Hello aspirants. Recently, on 11th of August, Supreme Court has issued a suo motu directive regarding the management of stray dogs. According to the directive, the Delhi NCR authorities, local authorities have been issued an instruction to capture and relocate the stray dogs out of the residential localities. So, this directive brings back the question of stray dog management in India, both in urban and rural areas. So, if we look at the issue of stray dog management, the issue clearly highlights or focuses three major aspects. One of them is the public health aspect, the public health and safety of the citizens. The second aspect and the most important is the animal rights, animal welfare. And the third important aspect is with respect to urban governance. So, in this slide, we will look at the issue of management of the stray dogs. So, first and foremost, we will look at the scale of the problem. So, what is this issue of stray dogs? So, if we look at the stats, the population of stray dogs has been close to 10 million, and according to some stats, it has been close to 15 or 16 million in India. Delhi alone has close to 6 to 7 lakhs of stray dog population. The issue clearly highlights the human-animal conflict. In this scenario, it is particularly the stray dog. So, as we have already discussed, the vulnerable population is going to be elderly as well as children. And on top of that, the rabies transmission and the increasing spread of rabies has been one of the other issue. So, if we look at the key important aspects that are going on, one is the population boom of the stray dogs that we have already discussed. The second important aspect is the spread of rabies at an increasing rate. Now, India can be called as the global capital of rabies. Close to 36 to 37% of rabies cases are occurring in India. And also, highlighting one more stat is the number of cases or incidences of dog bites. Most of them are also resulting in deaths. If you look at the statistics of NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau, in 2022, there are close to 2.2 million cases, whereas by 2024, the number has been increased to 3.7. So this clearly highlights the alarming trend of the dog bite cases. So, in the next dimension, we will look at the legal framework that is available with respect to the stray dog management in India. So, along with other animals, to manage the issue of stray dogs, starting from our constitution, there are several provisions in the form of articles in our Indian constitution. Starting from Article 21, if you consider Article 21 not just talks about the right to life of individuals, that is human beings, but also about animals. This has been clearly outlined in 2014, the famous Sabarimala judgment by the Supreme Court itself. Now, coming to the other major aspects is our Article 51AG in our fundamental duties, Part 4A. Same is the case with Article 48A, which deals specifically with the environmental issues in our directive principles. So, if we go on, we can also talk about 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act in the same light. Now, these are some of the important constitutional mandates that discuss or deal with the issue of stray dog or any other animal aspect. Now, coming to other central laws, that is the laws made by the Parliament as well as other rules and regulations and state laws, note or mention has to be made about the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960 and the rules thereby. So, coming to the rules, Animal Birth Control Rules 2001 and 2023 specifically deals with how animals and their birth control has to be managed. So, in total, both the PCA, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, as well as Animal Birth Control Rules clearly outlines that these animals, in our case, the stray dogs, has to be managed in a scientific fashion. So, there should be proper vaccination, there should be proper sterilization, and the authorities should clearly prevent the use of abnormal force or inhuman and unscientific culling of the animals. So, that is the most important aspect that you need to keep in mind. Coming to the Supreme Court directives. Supreme Court directives, we should discuss about two important aspects. One of the famous case was Animal Welfare Board of India versus People for Elimination of Stray Menace. Okay, so in this case, what Supreme Court actually did, Supreme Court actually reaffirmed whatever the legal aspect or the legal position that we have already in India. What is the legal position? As we have just discussed, the legal position is we should not be using disproportionate, unscientific and inhuman force against animals. Rather, we should be going for scientific in the sense of vaccination as well as using of proper sterilization methods, right? Next, in this suo motu order, which has been issued on 11th of August, Supreme Court very clearly gave guidelines to the local authorities. Coming to the guidelines, these are important facets. So, in its instructions, Supreme Court was very clear in stating that the dogs has to be caught and sterilized and clearly removed from the residential localities and housed in separate shelters. And also, one of the major important aspect is once the local authorities receive complaint about any stray dog menace, action has to be taken. That is, the capture has to be done within 4 hours. And also, it has pinned down the responsibility on the local authorities. And other major aspect is there should be no obstruction that will be tolerated either by individuals or by organizations. Whenever these dogs are being captured, no individual or organization should not cause any kind of obstruction to the capture of these dogs. And other major important aspect is putting a timeline. Okay, the local authorities has been asked to complete all this job and report within 8 days. So coming to the international practices, mention should be made about 2 countries. One is Netherlands and other one is our neighbor Bhutan. Coming to Netherlands, because it's being a developed country, it has been quite famous for its scientific sterilization vaccination process, and Netherlands is the first official country with no stray dog population. Second and most important aspect, apart from having scientific sterilization and vaccination program, our neighbor Bhutan also had one of the important learning that has to be taken by us, that is the community participation. Here, community has taken a clear role in managing the stray dogs. Okay, balancing public health and public safety on one side, and on the other hand, balancing the animal rights and animal welfare. So, it's time to discuss the way forward, like how we should proceed about managing these stray dogs. So, first and foremost aspect is public awareness and education, raising the awareness and education. So, coming to stray dogs and its menace, as we can see from past 2 days, the reaction has been largely emotional. So, one thing which we need to understand is definitely the issue has multiple facets. The 3 main facets we have discussed in the beginning of the video itself. One is our public health and safety. Second one is animal rights and their welfare. The third one is the governance, the urban governance. So, coming to the stray dog issue, people should be very much aware. All the stakeholders should be thoroughly educated and made aware. Stray dog has definitely been a challenge, especially when you consider the vulnerable population. The way forward should be having proper awareness about them. Awareness in the sense, for example, when they are trying to manage the stray dogs, for example, Supreme Court gave a guideline, time-bounded guideline to remove all the stray dogs from residential localities. Now, that is not in sync with the scientific literature. For example, whatever countries that have utilized this kind of sudden removal of the stray dogs from the residential localities, that is called as vacuum removal, sudden removal of all the stray dogs. So this did not give positive results in many of the cases. Why? Because once you remove any animal suddenly, definitely there are chances for reintroduction of the similar kind of animal. Now we need to proceed in a very scientific way. Okay, the way forward would be trap, neuter, reintroduce, and then you can control them. So these steps broadly are trapping, catching the animals, stray dogs in this instance, and neutralizing them. That means properly scientifically sterilizing them and also vaccinating them, reintroducing them to the same locality, the previous locality that they have been existing in, then ultimately you can control their population and stabilize in a sustainable manner. So rather than simply going by the emotions, we should be following proper scientific methodology to tackle with these animals. Next, coming to other aspect is enforcement and infrastructure. One of the main challenge at the grassroots level is the lack of sufficient number of personnel, trained personnel to execute the strategy. And the other main important aspect is the lack of infrastructure. So infrastructure particularly has to be mentioned about the existence of shelter homes, proper shelter homes which are scientifically built. And the other aspects like census, having the number of how many stray dogs are existing in particular localities and tracking them after vaccinating and properly sterilizing them. So these are some of the issues which should be thoroughly focused upon before jumping to the conclusions. Other major issues that need to be taken care is stakeholder collaboration. We have looked at all the stakeholders, for example, local authorities, animal rights activists, NGOs, and the people, the citizens groups, etc. And after that, mention should be made about the legal reforms and funding. So this entire exercise is financially intensive. So funding has to be properly taken care of. And the next aspect is the legal reform. For example, the basic laws that are available to take care of the stray dogs, which I have already mentioned, the PCA Act and the rules thereby. So these has to be clearly amended in the sense that not all stray dogs can be managed with a homogeneous legislations, right? So in conclusion, the key lies, the way forward clearly lies in balancing the interest. The three interests which we have discussed right in the beginning of the video. Ultimately, all the stakeholders, among all the stakeholders which have been mentioned in our discussion, everybody has their own voice apart from the voiceless animals. It's time for us to think in 360 degrees and find a solution involving all the stakeholders.